Oh.
I'm starting now.
I don't have 6:30 yet.
It's really nice to see you all. I'm waiting for, okay, here we go. I'll call this meeting to order.
Okay.
Woo! Who wants to do their oath of office?
I'll start. I, Aaron Carlson, under penalties of law, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of City Councilor for the City of Grand Marais to the best of my knowledge, judgment, and ability.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I, Ben Peters, under penalties of law, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of City Councilor for the City of Grand Marais to the best of my knowledge, judgment, and ability.
Thank you.
I, Tracy Benson, under penalties of law, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor for the City of Grand Marais to best of my knowledge, judgment, and ability.
The meeting's yours.
All right. All right, welcome to the first meeting of 2023. We have we have two new counselors with us. So as our first bit of business, now that our oath is done, I thought some introductions, and if you guys want to talk about what made you get here and what you think is important, or just a few opening comments.
Okay.
You want to flip a coin on who's first? Or?
Oh, I don't mind going. Well, I've been in Grand Marais for 20 years, married my wife, who is like third or fourth generation Grand Marais, back when it was a village. And I've been interested in city council and city service for a long time, and I've been on the planning and zoning board for a little over a year. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I think that there's a lot of challenges in running a small city, and I'm interested to get in there and try to problem solve and help any way I can.
And you've been on planning and zoning, right, and other boards too before? I mean, this isn't your first
Planning
time
and zoning, yeah.
stepping up to volunteer time
It's
and
not.
energies.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Well, I'm Aaron Carlson. I've lived here for pretty much my entire life, except for when I was in Duluth for a couple of years. But other than that, I've lived here year-round. My family used to own Joins Ben Franklin, so we really have a lot of history here in the town, and I'm just really excited to finally, get some work done and help out the best I can.
Awesome.
Okay. Craig or Mike, do you guys have any thoughts you wanted to share for the first meeting of the year at all, or any?
Yeah,
Things
we got a
well?
lot. We got a lot coming this year to do. So
Well, yeah, it's good to welcome the new members, and glad you stepped up to accept the challenges of being a city council member.
thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Yep, thank you. Well, there. So I switched seats from here to there, and
I noticed.
yeah,
You got closer.
yeah, I love that.
I know.
There's a lot of things that roll through my head. I think it's pretty thrilling after all these years. I sent a note to one of my friends so she could stream in tonight, and it kind of took me back for a moment, and I said, well, this is sort of like student council for grown-ups, which is what we went through high school together being involved with. And I said, so, it's pretty thrilling to make it, to do something for the town that did such, in the community that did such a nice job to get me propelled out into the world to be a grown-up. So every time I do something like this, I feel like I've really given a great opportunity, hopefully to give something back to all the people that did a lot to make all of us have good lives. So I just thought, though, I wanted to share what things that are important to me. and what kind of a bigger picture that way. So we obviously live in a super small city, but a really large county geographically, and we are the county seat. And all the actions and activities happen here. Medical care, taking, your kids, not all schools are here, but most of them are. Commerce, social, everything happens here. So we may say we're here for the operations of the city, but we also have to think that we also are within the county, and most things happen in this county. So to me, it's really important we step up our game in how we interact with all those other groups and organizations and entities that are in the county, and that we're listening to everybody. I've commonly heard, well, but I can't vote because I don't live here. That doesn't mean you don't have a say or a thought, or it doesn't matter. It does. And I think many of our business owners don't live in the city limits, but they're running something really important, and so they should never feel like we aren't listening or caring what they think. And then the other part, back to the fact that we're a small city, that means we have a very small and very good staff. But I think the complexities are growing and growing to run operations like this. So we have to, I believe, get as efficient as we can. And we're also more regulated, I think, sometimes, especially because the one thing we all care about, the lake, and that sometimes put higher standards on us and just the environment we live in. So part of that to me also means that operations within our city, I think we need to do some work on that just to make it more efficient. They're busy people. And then also, when people are interacting with them, that we have a good back and forth that way. And so that there's a lot of, we know where projects are at in a timely manner, and that so do the people, our citizens or residents, that we're providing consistent messages out, and everybody has a good customer experience, because ultimately we're here for our customers, right? And our clients, however you want to view it. So those are the main things that matter to me. And then also that our staff is successful too, whether it be professional development, having an annual review process and know where they stand on everything, and kind of build a positive record there. That's really important to me as well. So there, that's my little comments, just so you know where I kind of sit on some of these things. So, I guess we should do roll call, though we kind of already did it, but
Yeah.
we should.
Gang's
So, there we go. We have Craig Schulte, Aaron Carlson, Ben Peters, Tracy Benson, and Michael Gary, along with Mike Roth and Patrick, the guy who makes it all possible. Now it's time for our open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum this evening that's not on the other agenda? Hi, Scott.
Hello.
You want to come up and share for open forum? And then please identify yourself, even though I sort of did.
I'm Scott Waterhouse. I'm one of those that don't live in the city, but I'm this close. And I would just like to quickly address the dog leash ordinance. I think there's some gray areas that are not real clear. The first one being that there's no definition of what a leash consists of. And that has changed a lot over the years. I've been training dogs for probably 50 plus years. And to me, a leash that allows control of a dog successfully is at a maximum 9, preferably 6 feet long. And a lot of what I see in town, I spend a lot of time riding my bike with my dogs. And you get these people with these big, long, retractable things. And when you get a dog out there 15 feet in front of you, you have lost control. And unfortunately, I've had an incident or two where my dogs have been attacked by a dog like that. One of which I was thrown off my bicycle shortly after hip surgery. So I quit running my dogs with a leash, and they're well trained and they just will follow me wherever I go. I do use an electronic leash. But unfortunately, there's a deputy in town that now feels that that's not adequate. So give me 1 second to grab something here. I made my own little leashes that I could deploy to try and satisfy that requirement. And I would clip this on my dogs and just let it drag on the ground while I'm riding my bike. And then when I get where I'm going, if need be, I can use the leash that I normally carry. But I've been all over town for the last 12 plus years doing this. I go to the Y and work out. They lay down in the corner while I'm gone, totally unrestrained. I go to Holiday, I go to SOB, I go to the Blue Water, go to the coffee shop, and never had a problem. But coming home from the YMCA this fall, one evening, 7 o'clock at night, I got a ticket for no leash. I didn't know it at the time. They never stopped and talked to me. I just came home from hunting and found this ticket in the mail. And I was using these at the time. So I went and talked to the county attorney and said, my dogs had a leash. I didn't have it in my hand, but they were under my control. And we're kind of at loggerheads right now. So I was hoping that perhaps the city could maybe take a look at the leash law and maybe update it somewhat. There are communities now that specifically allow e-leashes, as they're called. I got an ad here for a company that makes what they call the Dog Watch S15 Big Leash. But the county attorney says because the city has not addressed that issue, she's not willing to stick her neck out and look at it. I did find, and I can't remember now, I should have paid a little more attention, but I did find one city that has a leash law, that they define what the leash consists of, at least the physical leash, and they make two exceptions to that physical leash. One is if a dog has passed some good citizen award that's done by AKC, and the other one is a dog that's sufficiently trained and is under the control of an electronic collar. And I'll just pause there and say, I'm just hoping that somehow we can figure this out so that I can ride safely. The leash law says you must be in control of the animal. And when I ride my bike with two dogs, they will follow me and I can put them on a leash, the both of them together, but I guarantee you that I'm not in control. If they decide they're going somewhere, I'm not going to be able to stop them. The only control I have is what they voluntarily give me. But if I have my e-collar on them, they're not going anywhere. I can guarantee you that. Because they know, I don't even really use the electronic part of it very seldom anymore. It vibrates and they know that means get over here and sit down or stay by me. And I don't know how many, everywhere I go, people, if I get introduced to somebody, they're like, oh, you're the guy with the dogs. When I go to Bucks, the ladies say, how come you didn't bring your dogs? So if we could work something out, I'd be willing to even sit in on some meetings and try to come up with something that meets the modern standard of, possibly allowing e-leashes if you would like to address that. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Is there anyone else for this evening?
Hello. Excuse me. Hi, this is Jason Hale of the Cook County HRA. I'm actually just wanted to speak quickly in favor and to support Resolution 2302, which is the grant Navigator resolution for Vesta Unchained. Just for two reasons, I'll be very brief. One, it's a wonderful project that is just running into cost complications like everything is. And I think this is a great opportunity to help support that by applying for other funds to hire somebody to help find funds. It's a bit of a circuitous route, but that's how these things work. And then secondly, I think it might be a good opportunity to understand what other resources are out there through League of Minnesota Cities. So it's a chance to help bring in an expert who will find some funds and then also maybe build a more a more meaningful or deeper relationship with the league, so that we have a better understanding of what they could do that could help Grand Marais in a bunch of other ways. So for those two main reasons, I just wanted to speak in support of that resolution and hope you'll consider it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. I think that takes care of that. Now we'll go through the consent agenda. Any changes to our agenda at all today, or any additions at all?
I would make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Anything, meeting minutes okay? Everyone take a look at the bills? We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to double check on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
'Cause you had the link this time.
I'll second the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. The only thing I would add, which is a big deal, but we pull up your weekly newsletter and just comment on the city cruise and the library. Well, that would be it. All right, so that's well, now, we've got a second, so.
Do you think, are you thinking to have that in like the council and staff reports?
No, it just says it's on standalone.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right,
Just
very
real
good.
quick, so, alrighty. Then we're good, a vote, is that an aye all around?
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you. Next up is the designating the official newspaper, which we do on an annual basis, so let me scroll down to that. That would be the Cook County News Herald. I see Brian is present this evening. Do you have any comments at all, Brian, or anything? No? Okay, all right. So this is our bid for them publicly to print in paper and publicize any official legal notices that we need to make. Any comment on this or thoughts? No? All right.
Okay.
See,
Would
the
someone-
rates are same prices as 2022. Just make a note of that, I guess. That's what the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Wow.
What do you want to like to make a
That's the only
motion?
comment. I'll make a motion to approve the Cook County News Herald as the official publicator.
I would second that.
All right, any other discussion? All right, vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good, thank you. All right, next up, same kind of deal, we have to approve where we deposit city funds, and on that list is the Grand Marais State Bank, North Shore Federal Credit Union, Security State Bank, League of Minnesota Cities, and RBC. Any comment, questions? These are all our standard, nothing new, right?
Nothing new.
Nothing
We
new.
do this every year because it's one of the things that's on your annual business meeting list. If there's ever a need to change, we can do that at any time.
I would make a motion to approve the depositories
I'll second.
of city funds.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions? Okay, very good. Vote.
Aye.
All right. Great. That brings us to the land transfer, right? I'm scrolling down at this point. Did I miss anything? No.
See, I'm not having that problem with my piece of paper. I seem to be following along just fine.
I'll just like go over once in a while.
Okay, very good. I'll share.
Thank you. So,
Yes.
attached is Resolution 2023-01 that our city attorney helped prepare. And this is for the transfer of property to the Cook County HRA, which we discussed at a prior meeting, in
Yeah.
which we weren't quite ready, and now I believe we are.
Yay.
We've had comments about this, and commentary, I should say. Any other further discussion at this point, or questions people had after reading through that resolution?
There's a section here where it talks about planning commission has reviewed the proposed acquisition. Has this gone to the planning commission, or when does it go to the planning commission? Or does it go to the planning commission?
If you pass the ordinance as it's written, you are waiving the planning commission's review,
Okay.
or the resolution now. that's our statutory requirement of process, is to have the planning commission review a property sale in the context of the comprehensive plan. And you have the right to waive that review if you think that it's not relevant.
Yeah.
And I saw your request for reversion is in there,
Yeah,
so that was good. Thank you, Craig.
yeah, that's good.
Anything else? What's someone thinking?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, well, I think that it reverts back is a good thing, right, potentially. I'm worried about land in general being given away, because, you know, we've had, sometimes it doesn't go very well, and then we have to look at that and realize that, and have to figure out what we're gonna do with it after the fact, and so I'm nervous about that. I want to make sure that both the city and the planning and zoning are going to be included when plans start getting drafted and uses start being thrown around and ideas and some of that stuff, because the idea that we're going to take, and I'm a little concerned about the Gunflint Trail as well, and if there's any future work that needs to be done, or if we're obligated there, or what the plans are for that. But yeah, just making sure that we have some control in that. It's a pretty prominent spot, and
In the sense that if this does not work as intended, that then we have it back to under our control again, because it is a prominent? I'm just making sure I understand. What
yeah, well, right, that it's, you know, and it's going to appreciate value as well. We all host of ideas could come in the next 5 years for a different highest and best use, who knows, right? And so that we have the option to get that back at the same price we're selling it for would be nice.
Well, it's not really, they're not paying a lot,
That's
so
my point.
we will get it back for what
For what
we paid for it.
Yeah,
So we should be okay that way.
yeah.
But that would be pretty important. Good point.
It also just talks about, it seems a little loose to me that the 5-year period really is only well, I guess we can just read it. So the HRA acknowledges, understands, and agrees that by accepting and recording the attached deed of conveyance of the property, that it will work diligently to find a developer over the next 5-year period commencing on the date of execution. But it doesn't really speak beyond that. It's just like, the only requirement is that we have to be diligently working toward finding a developer.
I think there's more requirements in the deed itself that are like on point for
Okay,
what I think
yeah.
you're looking for.
Okay.
So it says, within 5 years, they shall devote the real property to its intended use and shall complete the improvements. So, with
So
no more
it's-
than 6 years from the date of the deed. So that's, I think, a lot more specific
Yeah, it is.
about
yeah.
what the intended
Okay,
purpose
and
is.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of your other question about, you're gonna get a few more touches at this. It's not zoned residentially right now. Part of it is, part of it isn't. So you'll have a chance when they come and ask for the rezoning. And some of the uses that are being contemplated, if they're multifamily, require conditional use permits. So there'll be the typical city review process.
Okay.
At least twice, maybe concurrently, but the 2 questions that you'll have a chance to review what's going on and provide some input.
Yeah.
And I think there's work being done right now, and perhaps it would be a good idea for you to see it at some point, just get an update on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we've kind of talked about is having some regular updates, just how's it going?
Right.
Maybe there's nothing big, it's all moving along, but just we all know where it's at. Because that's important, and people ask us questions, and we need to be current in an efficient way we don't have to have all the details, but just
Mhm.
kind of know, so,
Yeah.
Kind of have a
All right.
general idea of what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And when people have concerns and questions, that we can get them to the right people and just generally know what the scoop is. With that, anyone else have any comments or questions? Or would like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-01, the HRA land transfer.
I'd like to second that.
All right, anything else? All right, vote.
Aye.
Aye. All right. There we be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the grant with the League of Minnesota Cities for Chris Skildum's Vesta Unchained project, housing development that Chris is putting together, which requires work with the city, but this is Chris's project. And you'll notice in the comment that there's been some additional engineering requirements. It's an expensive project, that obviously, and this just adds another bit to that. So this is a new pilot program by the League of Minnesota Cities, and maybe help him, because that's one of our biggest, when you're trying to do these things, going out and finding the money, that's a whole other expertise and time and energy. So hopefully this will help with that for Chris. So a letter, he's asking our support for that, and that brings us to that resolution on that. Any questions or comments on this?
I'm all for it.
All right, anyone want to put a motion out on this?
I would make a motion to approve resolution 2023-02, the grant navigator for Vesta Unchained.
Second?
I'll second that.
Any other?
Just want to point out, and this isn't that, you kind of get one run at this, right, as far as the $5,000 goes. We've got other projects that we want to seek funding for potentially, right? Some that we've talked about, some that we haven't, right? And so just to be aware that this is a one, we're not going to come back to the league and ask for another $5,000 when we want to hire the person for something else, right? So,
Not in the near future. I think
Right.
that's a good point to make. This is this program, we're designating this project as our application. Hopefully we'll learn enough going through this process that'll be applicable to other projects as well.
yeah.
And one of the things we need to learn is who's the right person to spend this money on. The typical model that I've used is engineering firms that this is kind of part of their business model and sales pitch, but it hasn't necessarily always been that way lately, that they come to the table with grant applications and ideas. So I've been talking with LHB, and they're actually building this type of capabilities specifically around some of the new federal funds that are available. And we've also put out that feelers with other engineering firms that we work with, other planners that we work with, and then MSA, who is Skildum's engineers that actually have been doing the design work, could potentially be a part of that as well. So we don't really know for sure who we want to use with the $5,000. And we're still working on it, but this is a good start.
Yeah. Very good.
Anything else? All right, vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Oh. Next up, well, I'm going to take a break, if that's okay, for just a moment. And give Patrick a second to pull up his weekly newsletter and get that up on the screen. I think after our wonderful Christmas holidays, which were thrilling, mostly for the people who lived out of the city, we were pretty darn lucky here in the city, but it was still probably interfered with the holidays for some of our city employees. And then also the library had some big news, and I think we should take a moment or two to recognize them and make sure everyone else, all those people tuning into this meeting, recognize all that they have done. I think that's pretty good. And I thought the best way to do that is for Patrick to share his weekly update that he does with info from all of our city departments, which anybody could sign up for to have that delivered directly into their email box, and I don't know how many people are aware of it. So it's also a sales pitch for Patrick's work on this. And the city supplied photos here from their work over the Christmas break there with that terrific storm and the work they had to do there, the linemen and the city crews with the debris and just keeping the electric up and running and all of that. So a big thank you to all of them for their very hard work on that, especially of all times. And then of course our restrooms got that glass pane redone, and I'm trying to remember what that other, what's the other picture to the left, Patrick?
That's roof debris that
That's-
was removed from downtown.
That was on
Streets
Wisconsin
Department.
Mhm. So that's nice.
Wow.
And not to shortchange the rest of the departments, but I just want to focus on, they all give a report, but just to focus on the library, because buried in there with not a lot of their own horn tooting, they once again retained their 5-star rating, which to me is really wonderful for a library our size, which is a great testament actually to the people who use it, which is around our whole county. If they weren't using it, the library also would not be able to maintain that 5-star rating. So it says a lot about the people who live here, and it says a lot about the librarians and the library staff serving those people. That's pretty remarkable, because libraries are darn important. So that was my call out for those 2 items and for Patrick's newsletter, and I'm sure if you contact Patrick, you too could have a subscription to get that every week.
And to your family and friends.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, thank you. Then on to the city parking and snow removal. We've got an ordinance ready to roll here. Did everyone have a chance to look at it and take a look at those maps? Do you want to pull up those maps too, Patrick?
Yeah, Mike and I are kind of working as a team here, so.
Oh, okay, so it's going to go through Mike?
Kind of.
Kind of.
I appreciate you guys making those maps.
It's really helpful.
That's our teamwork right there at work.
So. While they're doing that, did anyone have any questions or thoughts about all of the changes? Did they seem clear as mud or clear as day, or?
I mean, basically, we were just talking about the one major change, right? That we were adding in that last bit of fifth there, right?
Yep. And then we were also getting rid of some of the older
Right.
stuff, yeah.
Verbiage.
And older stuff survived a transition process from the old way the city code was organized into the new recodification. And so the new recodification occurred, actually, we finished it after we passed the parking ordinance changes, but it was happening right at the same time.
Huh.
So it's just stuff that got missed, and now we get another look at it, get to clean it up, take some of that language out of there.
Great.
Here's a map of parking regulations in the winter time. It's a pretty simple list. This yellow area, which we would typically call downtown, is no overnight parking. It's defined as 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And the green area, although not including Highway 61, which is specifically held out of these regulations, is calendar parking, so it's basically everywhere else. And then if you pass this ordinance, the one red block is the just no parking at all at the bottom of Fifth Avenue.
Okay. Yep.
So Highway 61, we have the option of putting in something.
You do.
But we just haven't done it at this
Right.
point.
There was something, actually, and it was taken out in 2019 when the calendar parking ordinance was passed. One of the late changes to that ordinance was to exclude Highway 61 from the calendar parking rules, but also from the overnight parking rules of downtown. I think that had to do with the new design of the highway and the way it was being used, and we weren't particularly excited about either set of rules. They didn't maybe fit very well. And now that we've seen it in action, I think most places on Highway 61, it's still not a problem the way the rules are currently written, that there aren't calendar or overnight limitations, but if we were going to pick one of those to apply to Highway 61, the overnight one seems like it's much more in line, since it's more of a commercial area and there's likely demand for parking on both sides of the street during the day, but a need to get maintenance done. And the overnight parking gives us an opportunity anyway to get some maintenance done.
Yeah.
But that's not included in this ordinance right now.
No. But it's part of our discussion today, maybe.
And it doesn't go probably as, oh, wait a second.
It ends,
Yeah, it does go,
ends at the post office?
yeah, I was trying to
Yep.
figure how far over. What's Third Avenue? Is that by the dentist practice?
First, second,
The
first,
par-
Yeah.
Pardon? Yes?
second.
Third is the?
Third is the post office? No, is that, yeah, it's third.
Up to the dentist's office.
It's third.
So,
And the-
actually, when we go farther over than to my sister's place and the other commercial, they are under that.
Everything except for Highway 61
Oh, because they're
is
in blue.
under that, but we've specifically excluded Highway 61 from wintertime parking rules.
But you just didn't make it go that far in your map.
Yeah, we could, erase Highway 61 from any green highlighting. I think that would probably be the best way to clarify that point.
Yeah, that's all, like, we just do that. Because that's something we've been talking about, we don't have then a solution for those issues then. That's still a open issue then.
Yeah. Mhm.
'Cause-
The solution that we've been trying is no overnight parking, and not with an ordinance, but just by asking. And that's what's been happening for the most part, although there are sometimes vehicles that show up of their own accord, uninvited to businesses who might need to work on them.
Got it.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
So maybe we
Yeah, that's a tough
need then still to look at that then.
Well,
Because sometimes you can't have the people or the entities involved, they come and go. What do we want just in general for the policy to
Right.
be?
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so I think, okay. So that's what we have with that. Anything around that, well, I had a question about the summer map, which I know I brought to you guys. Just confused me for a minute. Is that okay to shift gears to
I
summertime
would
map?
love to, as long as everybody doesn't mind reading my emails while I find it.
So if you're on First Avenue, did you catch the fact that that goes across Highway 61? It doesn't, all the
Yeah.
rest of these stop, right? And see that little blue line that
Yep.
goes up?
Is that
Which-
Voyager there?
Pardon?
Is that next to Voyagers?
No, it's over
Actually,
a
I
couple
think
blocks, so
that
it's
one might
first.
not be
That'd be
on
right
the
here.
right place. It should be First Avenue West.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not, yeah, it is. Don't you have it on First
I
Avenue?
think First Avenue West is this one right here.
Oh, you got it in the wrong.
Yeah. It's the same distance. It goes up to this alley.
No, it's in there.
That's the right spot. That
Is
is
it?
right, because the other one is
Yeah,
the
okay.
library. So you had it right.
And that is also included in the downtown rules. I don't recall if it was added recently or not, but our theory is it was included because that's where the pharmacy was.
Or possibly when it was the post office, if it was there for a long time. But now there's no consistency to why that's there, why you would do that.
Right.
And I could see other people possibly going, well, why can't we have a 90-minute rule? Because I'm living over there by Voyager and watching traffic parked up and down my street all the time. I mean, I'm just trying to always think, like, use this logic, where else would someone say it applies? Or I live by the dental practice and I see, maybe they don't stay where people probably race in and out of the dentist's office, but anyways.
If they're in there for 90 minutes, we don't want to trouble them anymore.
Yeah. They just want to go. But anyways, so I was just kind of think maybe that needs some cleanup, is my reaction to that.
Yeah.
That it should
Yeah.
just, but we need to, Mike brought up some good points, because there's other retail around there, but still, that always comes and goes too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I
That-
think,
That boundary of where is the downtown and where is not is a regular topic of discussion, and it's really easy to just draw Highway 61 as a hard line, but it's really not a hard line.
No.
There's quite a bit of
Not
commercial
really.
activity on the other side, and it does shift as to where it is.
sure.
So it's really tricky to
It
get that
is.
right.
And some of it, I just think people might say, well, I don't like all those cars parked up and down in front of my place, and how come the other people get a 90-minute rule and I don't?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would be my only one that I was wanting to
And maybe, I
have
don't
thought
know,
about.
maybe that is something to clean up. Another resolution, but I think, I mean, we can go ahead with this ordinance, so are we good with this one? Everyone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, other than that part, I'd like to see, and the rest of the downtown made sense to everybody on the winter part. Okay. So, any thoughts, Craig? Any comments? No? Okay.
No, I mean, I think it's like I don't know, you can do all kinds of ordinances with parking, but you gotta try to fit the community that we have,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing what started all this, I think, was the winter snow removal stuff, which is, I think, going better now that we have a winter odd even parking.
Yep, that's been helpful.
And I think the other areas that I know we've talked about before, I think we're trying to clean that up with just conversation with the businesses involved to try to have a voluntary
Yeah.
understanding that does pose a problem if it's ongoing
Mhm.
for snow removal and just for movement of traffic in and out of these driveways. And I think it's been a lot better since we've been talking about it to them, so I think that approach, I think, is working okay right now, anyway, for
That's
us.
preferable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to, well, and make sure I heard this right, that we clean up that one little area on First, and then make a motion to,
You mean add that, sorry,
Yeah.
add that into this?
yeah,
Ordinance?
to the ordinance, and then make a motion on that?
That seems fair. Is that something we can do, Mike? We can just pop that puppy right in there and no problem, or do we have to do a rewrite?
If you all have a clear understanding of what she's talking about, I do.
Yeah.
So that's fine, we can
That'll
do
be
that.
fine.
And
Okay.
it'll be included in writing in your second reading.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Then I would make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-01, parking regulations amended, including the First Avenue little bump there or whatever.
Okay. You wanna-
I'll second that motion.
Anything else?
Nope.
Yes, that's, okay, vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Along with that, I was, well, we talk about this multiple times. It came up in another meeting I was at with the Active Living Steering
Committee?
Committee.
Yeah.
Post office access, walking access. And then I know we talked before, like if the post office, they do their own plowing, right? So if you come through and plow, you don't care that this intersects, and then you might unintentionally put snow, and then the snowmobile, they need to know their correct path.
Right.
But I feel that the walking to the post office is important and on that side of the street, and we know the bigger problem with the way MnDOT set us up for that, to have that be on the other side of the street and have the snowmobilers cross at the light. But I think we need, I personally would say, get the post office in the room, get the snowmobile club in the room, and Lenny in the park, and have a conversation and see if we can't work something out to get through the rest of this winter so everyone can get by. I don't think, does it mean we have to get it down to bare pavement so a snowmobiler can't go by? I don't think so. But we should have it be level enough and not have either a big embankment when you try to get there and walk over. Just, there should be some common sense. We should be able to get through this winter and then figure out our needs. At least that's how I'd start this conversation.
Yeah, I think
So
that's kind of the best way to start, is just start talking to them, and then maybe next year do something different.
And get it on the list.
Yeah, and I do think that maybe moving the snowmobile across the street again is really what we should do. in long term, not this year, but next year, think about that and have a conversation. We have plenty of time to figure it out, make sure it works for everybody. But I think, with all those businesses, IGA and Sisters and all that on that side, and people walking up and down there, it's like, kind of makes sense rather than having them go across the street and then come back across the street and all that, so. But that's in the future, I think.
And the snowmobilers' time within all this is really rather small. Like, if we don't have good snow, they're trailering anyways. It's not like this is always where they go, or all of them do. It's going to primarily be the few people staying at the hotels right there that would take it for the most part. Except for that group that went up my street the other week.
There's a lot of riders that come into town that aren't staying here. We have a lot of that. I mean,
But where do they?
come from Silver Bay, they come from Two Harbors, they come from Taki, Lutz, and Schroeder, they come into Grand Marais.
Some
So,
come in from Duluth, too.
That trail gets used by people who stay here, but it also gets used, I would say, half of the usage is people that
Getting fuel.
that don't have a trailer here.
And state
So, and I
trail.
think we've talked about this many times about the snow. For me personally, I go to the post office every day. What I see going on over there that might be fixed easily, maybe, I don't know, is the post office has a contract with someone to remove the snow. Okay? Now, they remove the snow from the parking, but there's not a lot of detail or attention paid to the approaches in and out of the post office that go to the street, like we have on the corners here, the dipped out sections.
Yeah.
For instance, the dipped out section of the post office that's facing east is not shoveled, not cleared. So if you have to park on the highway or on the hill going up by the bank to walk into the post office, you have to walk out into the driveway of the post office, then up into the
Right.
post office. And that's a snow removal issue, I think, that maybe that could get fixed by
Yeah.
somebody getting out of the skid steer and shoveling it. Now, whether the post office pays for that or not, that type of little thing would improve
Yeah.
a lot of walkability over there, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when we get a bunch of snow,
Yeah.
So
So-
maybe just procedurally, how it's getting taken care of would help a lot, too.
Yeah. That's, I think, everyone
Yeah.
who's got an interest
Right.
should think out loud. So where do the people trailer, or where are they, like, putting their trailers, parking, and then if they're leaving from downtown and heading up, where are they parking then? Where's their starting point then, down here, or?
Who?
You said a lot of people come from other
They
places.
come from other places because they're staying at other places. They ride to Grand Marais to get gas or to eat or to visit for the day, and then they ride back out.
Oh, okay, so you mean they come down, okay, got it. I
Right.
thought you meant they were
No, they're coming and
trailering
going.
and starting from here. You
No,
mean they come
yeah.
down and,
And then the
yeah.
people that use it that are trailering are the ones that are parked at, the hotels in town.
Yeah,
Then they use the trail as access. When the trail gets bad later in the season, then obviously they trailer, most of them trailer to Devil's Track, park up there at the old runway, then they ride from there. That's when the trail starts disintegrating,
sure.
like it is now when it's raining, so, I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think procedurally, just opening up the post office parking, and I don't know, maybe it's just a maintenance thing of a government building that is kind of on the back burner of post offices and government buildings right now. Maybe it's a budgeting thing, I don't know.
Well, that's where we don't know, and we will be making a lot of assumptions, I think, unless we sit down with them and make sure everyone who has a interest in this sits down and listens and talks it through.
Yeah.
Because I think, I agree, it could be just something as simple as when we're all going to coordinate this plowing and clearing, we've got more than just our own concerns in mind when we accomplish it.
Yeah.
And we can maybe do a better job with that. And when I watch the snowmobilers come by, they're always very slow and considerate. They always stop right there and look. I don't have a concern that someone walking is sharing a path with the snowmobilers is what I'm trying to say.
The
Because
speed is slow.
Yep, I see them always being very attentive, so I never have watched them fly across that. I think I walk there enough to. So, a discussion, I think, I don't know if that's a Lenny thing to get organized and do, or how we want to do it, but I think that
Well,
would
the
be a
city
good.
doesn't plow the post office, that's a private
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
But it is the city's deal around this, the sidewalks and the streets and the pathing of it, right? Just the bigger
Yeah.
concept of it. I mean, someone kind of has to take the lead on this in the conversation.
Yeah.
Or if someone from the council wants to join in on that meeting.
Seems like a
Pretty good.
great meeting for the Active Living Steering Committee representative of the council to be a part of,
Which we'll decide later on.
right?
Isn't
Just
that
see what you're
next? That's
signing up
next.
for.
Thank you for that. Chap. Okay, any other thoughts about that? Is that an okay way to get this moved forward a bit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Highway 61, since we aren't really doing anything in the moment, I'm just wanting an update, like, is snow removal going okay? Parking, I've got people talking about visibility issues when they try to enter 61, between the cars and the snowbanks.
Snowbanks,
and
oh, okay. Okay.
that kind of thing. Any thoughts or comments about that at all, as we lead to what we might want to do? So far, from our earlier conversations, it made it sound like maybe you folks feel like dealing with the individual businesses at hand is enough right now, but are there any other issues around all of this? Have we heard from the plowers? Are they okay with plowing? There was always some, comment in the past, it would be more difficult to plow with our new bump outs and different things. Is it working okay? Have we heard?
I think they're doing a terrific job.
Mhm.
The state is typically the ones who are plowing the parking lanes. And I think with some of the conversations that we've had recently, issues they've dealt with are not the same. They're much better. There aren't cars parked in their way all the time, and they've been able to clean up after that. But it's been a while since we've had a big snowfall.
Yeah.
So part of the improvement is just that. And we'll have to keep monitoring it to make sure that when we get a big snowfall, that it still works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not aware of any acute visibility issues, which doesn't mean there aren't any, it just means I'm not aware of them. But typically, we have the capacity to deal with that by moving that snow pile. And all of the agencies that are involved in plowing snow in the city do that of their own accord on a periodic basis as piles get big. But please feed us information if you've got it of places that need some attention.
Well, and part of visibility too is just cars in general. You're trying to look around, sneak out and look around, and then all the traffic. So it wasn't even just snow, just in
Yeah.
general. Are cars too close? They're allowed to park too close, and then it gets hard to see when you're
You
trying
mean
to
too
look
close to
your way.
the intersections, is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, to make people feel like they can make those entries out to 61. Any thoughts on that? The last item was a question, because I didn't know the answer to this. Do we have ordinance,
Oh, we
or
do.
how do we really monitor
we do.
residential snow removal?
We don't.
That's two very different questions.
What are you talking about?
City
Sidewalk?
code says
Sidewalks?
24
that
hours.
adjacent property owners are required to shovel sidewalks. And that has, as far as I know, never been actively enforced anywhere except for the downtown area, where city forces actually do most of the snow plowing anyway
The sidewalks.
of the sidewalks.
Yeah.
But that's what our ordinance says. And that's a pretty common situation, that a city has an ordinance that says that, and that the decision is not to enforce it very well.
That was my question. Does anyone else have any comments on that or anything?
I don't know if you saw the news lately, but the city of Minneapolis is revisiting their conversation about whether the city forces should plow sidewalks there.
Maybe. You caught
There's no way
Fry's
they're
comments
I mean,
on that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good thing that they've got, a multi-billion-dollar budget if they're thinking about trying that.
Yeah.
Wait, that the city would take it on?
That's the ask, and I think
Yes.
there's great reasons for them to talk about doing it, but what an incredible task that would be.
They said back in 2018, I believe, they did a cost estimate on that, and those are the numbers they used in that article, and they were huge then. And then the guy brought up really, like, we can't get people to do regular things now. Who would want a job that requires you to be out in the middle of the night in bad weather, and only when there's bad weather? I mean, we're not
Right.
going to be paid if there isn't snow. So, I mean, it's interesting when you get into the real nuts and bolts of something like that, what it really means. It sounds
Yeah.
cool, but, and frankly, this town's pretty walkable, and there's not a lot of traffic, and we have big wide streets. If you've ever spent any time in the city proper of Minneapolis or St. Paul after a snowy day, you're not a happy camper. They can't get any of their snow moved. Their sidewalks aren't cleared. It's not good. And then it gets stuck there, it gets driven over, and it can't,
Right.
no, it's not good. But yeah, I opened up and read that article and went, whoa, yeah.
Good luck.
Well,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have anything that way?
No, I did briefly snow blow my sidewalk, but then I realized nobody else was, so I stopped. Oh, what was I thinking?
I
Nobody's doing
stopped
that here.
before you.
I know you did.
Oh, all right. So we are okay with the ordinance. I would just like to say we really need to keep an eye on Highway 61. I think keep monitoring it, and let's have a status report, see how the rest of this season goes and this summer. And if it's not working, we need to do something. All right, very good. Thank you. Ooh, time for the board appointments. Did anyone click their link? Or no, I'm sorry, this is the other board appointments.
Citizen appointments?
This
Easy
is,
ones first.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is, I jumped ahead.
And how wonderful it is this year that it is easy.
The citizen appointments to boards.
Yep.
So we have a library board, can we do these all together?
Or do we have to do them
I don't know why
separately?
not.
We can do them together?
You can do them. Well, it's a great package deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Library, Park Board, and Planning Commission, thank them all for volunteering
Thank you.
to do this great public service, and boy, we appreciate it.
They're all incumbents, so they know what they're getting into,
Yeah.
and still are willing.
I know. Whoa.
Do we just need to do a motion then to approve those
Yeah.
three?
I'll make a motion to approve the citizen appointments for the library board, the park board, and the planning commission.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right, anything else on that one? Vote?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Thank you to those three. Stephen, Stacy, is that Eno? Eno?
Anna?
Eno?
Eno?
Anna.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Can we skip ahead to acting mayor before we get to our, because that'll go faster, I think.
Council planner.
Probably.
Yeah.
Craig, are you willing to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I'll
great.
make it easy for you.
I appoint Craig. I mean,
You appoint?
I appointed
Yes.
I appoint you.
Oh. Did anyone want to wrestle Craig for that?
No.
No. Okay. A vote on
That's
that?
fine.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, your shirt will be delivered shortly. Council
Acting mayor,
appointments.
wouldn't that be a great t-shirt?
Back
A lot
up
of
there.
meaning, doesn't it?
It's gonna happen.
So here comes the fun part, council appointments, in which you get to pick all the other places, because it is important that we have a presence in all the other activities going on around our county
Yeah.
and our city, including our city operations. We included on there this time, as best as we could, the meeting schedules, so you'd have an idea of the time commitment a little bit. And then if you didn't know some of the people involved, like Justin with the ARDC, and Christina Matson's new for the active living steering, or no, safe routes, active living steering, or
Both.
whatever. Right, yeah, okay. That's a long title. So anyways, Christine is new, so we want to have her name up there. How would you guys like to approach this? As some of you are already on things, do you want to, would you like to say if you'd like to stay on something, or I don't know how you want
Yeah.
to?
I mean, I would like to stay on planning and zoning, for sure.
All right, so let's start with planning and zoning then, because we have an opening with Anton gone, right?
No.
Actually,
Nope.
you
Anton's
do
staying.
and don't. Anton was appointed as a citizen appointment, so he is still
that's why.
on.
Yeah. And we also
Yeah.
have Ben.
You're right, as a citizen.
Citizen, that's why we were getting dual on that. I just thought we
Yeah.
had two councilor members, I never
No.
caught that one.
Yeah, no, it's,
All right,
so we've got Ben, you'll stay?
I will stay, yeah,
Great.
if we can do 2 on there, for sure.
Yeah. That'd be
We've
great.
done 2 many times, and
Yeah.
recently it's
'Cause
been
we have to.
Yeah,
necessary.
I enjoyed that board.
It's a necessary board.
all right. So, Aaron or Craig, is that okay, or are you
Yeah, I'm fine
That
with
sounds
that.
great.
trying to get on that board? All right. I don't think, I'm in a view only on this spreadsheet, so I can't click the box to remind that we talked about it.
Oh, well.
What's your other appointments then? We'll just do it that way.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the ones I had, and I mean,
What
that's
are
one
they?
that's one I really like and
Okay.
enjoy a lot. ARDC, I've done that last couple of years, and also
Oh, thanks,
library.
Mike.
Or no, I started library last year, that's right. Jay was doing that before.
Okay.
And
so-
I'm fine going ahead with that, but if somebody wants to wrestle me for it, I've no.
All right, so ARDC, anyone have an interest in that one?
I would do that.
Okay.
You want to do that?
I have no problem with that, yeah.
Oh, you're okay with Mike, or you would like to do that?
I'll do it if Mike doesn't want to, or.
Oh, no,
if Michael wants
I
to.
do want to just keep doing all the ones I'm doing, but
Let's
if you
do it.
really wanted it.
Nope,
Okay.
Great wrestling, guys.
It's friendly.
we'll work on it.
Okay. And then what was did you say library board?
Yeah.
All right, anybody there for library board that we need to flip coins over, or?
Does anybody else want that? I
I'm good.
mean, I've only had a year, so I haven't gotten as
All right.
much under my belt as I'd like, but,
Is that your 3 then?
yeah.
All
And
right.
then, wait, there's something else. ARDC. Do we have our list from last time?
Yeah.
Because I
It's
swear.
on that link that you don't have.
I clicked my link.
Maybe,
Where is it?
Can you share your screen again?
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the who used to be on there,
That's what.
No, that's fine, but
which
at
is
least
what I
we'll.
think he's looking for.
That's what I'm looking for. I was thinking like, who?
I thought if you saw the list, you
Yeah.
might like
No, our
recognize yourself.
ARDC library.
Okay. Well, you think for a minute, and then Craig?
Oh, it was just
Yeah.
the community leadership thing.
Oh, got it. Wait, park board, right?
Yeah, the ones that I've been on is the park and trails, the PUC and the rec park.
Okay.
And those are fine. I'll stay on those unless somebody wants to
Yeah. PUC,
do
that's a good one.
one of them or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm fine with it. Make it
PUC,
simple.
park board, and what was the other one?
Parks and Trails.
Parks and,
and
oh, the
Trails.
county one.
County,
Yes.
yeah, county.
Oh, okay. So anyone there wanna arm wrestle on that one?
I'm good.
All right, sure.
It all depends on what's left over.
Yeah, we might have to have
The
a
good stuff's
revisit.
gone now, so.
All the good
yeah,
stuff.
sorry.
No,
Tracy's manipulating it.
well,
And now it's left.
Okay.
Well-
Oh, great. Mike's quickly refreshing this so I don't go over something. All right, so here's some openings
But there's a
then.
bunch-
Well,
there's a
so
bunch
what are
of
you
stuff.
doing now,
oh,
Trace?
okay, so I have we call it Personnel Committee,
Yeah, that's right.
which I would like to stay on to continue the work
Mhm.
on that. Now,
That'd be
we
great.
had,
We usually have
a,
2.
yeah, we had 2 on that one.
Okay.
On
So
the
would someone like to
city
join
personnel.
that?
Aaron, you want to do that one?
That sounds interesting. I would do that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I have the North Shore Management Board, which meets quarterly, and that is a group of people that goes from here all the way down to Duluth and up to the border. It's the whole North Shore. And they do have some responsibility. There's a set margin between the lake and how far up they have. And It's a little quiet right now. We've had some larger projects. And the other thing interesting that came out, just to let you know, it's not really their, set responsibility, but that's a group of people who within their own counties are also commonly dealing with short stay rental. And that's the one time they talk about it as a group,
They're
which I find very
typically
interesting.
planning, zoning folks.
Yeah, on there. So, I like that, but if I don't want to I don't want to leave you guys. on the crumbs.
Well, there are some choice ones
We're
in
getting
here.
the crumbs, man, there's no way around it.
It's our first term, we're just stuck with it.
Okay. So otherwise I'll stay on it, but if someone wanted the North Shore Management, that's fine. And it's remote. If right now they're still meeting remote, so you don't have to drive all the way down to. Oftentimes they meet at Tedagooch or Silver Bay City Hall. Tedagooch State Park, by the way. Then another one that might be of interest to people is the Active Living Steering
Right.
ALSC
Committee?
and
Yep.
Safe Routes to School.
And safe routes to school, I see.
If there's some interest there in that group, which meets monthly.
I'd like to do that.
Okay. There's Aaron. We need a CCLEP liaison.
That also sounds interesting to me, so
Okay.
perfect.
The Creative Economy Collaborative, which meets monthly. And that is, I didn't realize that was Justin as well.
Well, it was.
Mhm.
I think it still is, isn't it?
Definitely, and they're looking for a chair. They don't meet, I mean.
I don't think you should have told them that until they picked somebody.
Times a year.
So if someone has interest in that,
So are you on that presently, or you're just going?
no,
through the
now I'm
list?
just going through the list. I
Okay.
did
I
think
skip one
Jay
on
was doing
purpose.
that one.
Oh, okay.
No, just for example, they were part of making the decisions about the kiosks and all that, right? Just to give an example
Right.
of what some of the things they've done so people understand what you're doing. Like it also has how art is integrated with our community, not just.
Yes, and Tracy, and Mayor Benson. The other biggest role for the Creative Economic Collaborative, as we relate to the city right now, is the installation of public art and approval of public art, which is housed under a city resolution, ordinance, I don't remember the right word, but that's the good work that we're trying to get through now as well.
So,
So we don't have just willy-nilly art all over.
and we get things donated. That's an issue sometimes too, whether we want it. So any interest there? All right, I'll join that. I like art. The Downtown Business Coalition, which I have been currently, I did forget that, involved in.
Subcommittee of the chamber.
Yeah. Brought to us and organized that way.
Sure,
Does that mean you'd like to?
sure.
All right, so that has now been transferred to Ben.
All right.
Or
That'd be
North
good.
Shore Management, you pick.
Oh, you know what? Okay. The EDA is looking for, also, any strong thoughts there? I have some interest in that, but I'm going to.
What about you, Ben? You interested in that one? The E EDA?
They meet monthly?
Yeah, I'm
Seems like a
interested
good
in it.
one.
I mean, I watch them anyway, so you're all
So you might as well.
into it. But, yeah,
Did I do that?
but you sounded like you would like to do that.
Well, I'm not going to throw you the crumbs either.
No, don't worry about that.
EDA is a good one. Yeah.
And it's not, and that, you're absolutely right, but so I don't want, and I've just been approached by several different people, and I think there's a real need to have a good presence by the city, and I've been
Do
asked
you mean
that.
on the
but-
EDA in general?
in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
And ask personally to become more involved when we
Oh,
make these
okay.
appointments, but,
Why don't you do that then?
okay, thank you. North House Folk School. Now, Jay commonly was that person for this city. Does someone have interest in that? And that involves their board meetings, attending those, or just meetings with Greg, or the
No,
board
it's
meetings?
a liaison to the board.
Okay.
All right. So some interest there.
Yes.
All right. I see it starts with a B for Ben. Next up in the unlisted is the Northwoods Food Project. We weren't certain that had a need anymore for,
I don't remember its origin. I think Jay was the one that was on there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember hearing about it in any council reports for
No.
a long time.
I haven't.
Yeah.
And so if you didn't want to appoint anyone, we'll take it off the list. And if that is a bad idea, I'm sure someone will tell us and we can put somebody on the list.
All right.
it's okay.
Sounds good.
I was unaware of the safety committee, but Mike let me know about that. And do you want to give a quick summary, or does everyone know about it and I was the only one who didn't?
I'm not
It's a
clear.
labor management safety committee that meets monthly, so this is something that cities are required to have. Our safety committee is staffed by members of all various departments and representatives from management and also from labor in those different departments, that those representatives switch back and forth. And we hire Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association to be the kind of overseeing group with expertise, and they bring a representative out every month for a couple of days to do training and to conduct the safety committee meetings. Part of our management representation is to have a city councilor on that group.
Got it.
Who was before? Did you just say that and I was not listening?
I think it was Anton. I know before him it was Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Got it.
Is that a monthly?
It's monthly, I'd say probably more like 10 times a year.
I don't care, I can do that. Nobody else wants to.
Okay.
It's fine.
Sounds good.
The YMCA has had an advisory board, which was going quite well for a while and then hasn't been. And if you aren't aware, Emily Marshall has moved to Duluth and is still involved in management of here, but we also have Janet Arnson as well. And so we're a little uncertain of the status of the advisory board.
Okay.
And so is James Yorkie, when I talked to him about it. But it needs to be there, and obviously the city and the county have a super vested interest in knowing all of that.
Yeah.
So we need to find out where we're at with that, probably get in touch with Emily and or Janet and find out.
Mm-hmm.
But we do need someone to represent the city when we figure out what meetings it will actually be if an advisory board is not functioning at this moment. But we'll have to make that communication channel active again.
Okay.
So if someone has some interest in that,
Yeah, I would do that unless somebody else wants that.
okay.
Okay.
Community leadership, the previously known as Joint Powers Committee that meets the second Thursday every 2 months. We are all on the agenda for that, and Patrick has forwarded your 2 emails to make sure that you get on that invite list. But what I've been informed from several different people is that we have not had good participation nor attendance as a city for some time in those meetings, and we're missed. They'd like to see us there. So one of the things we are thinking about, if you all think that's a great idea, is that maybe one person would commit to being in those meetings. We would all still be invited. I think it's really great to hear about all the other, what's going on, keep up to date, participate. So if you agree with that concept, otherwise we are all officially invited, and please try to attend. So whichever approach you'd like to take. If someone would like to say for sure, I step up to the plate and I will make sure someone else. Okay.
For sure.
And if you can't make it, send a note and,
Yeah.
yeah, and we'll
Yeah.
make sure. Okay, great,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
And then the other thing that was brought to my attention was the local emergency preparedness group that I believe that I realized afterwards that was probably Jay's meeting, right? That he went to with his new job and as mayor, because he was in.
As mayor, I think more importantly, if the mayor is going to be of the five of you, the one that will be involved in emergency first. And has some specific roles, so it probably makes sense to have the mayor be a representative to these meetings. And I don't know that that means you have to be at all of them, but
They'd like our presence, and I was thinking, oh, we did have. I was thinking, oh, because Jay was probably there trying to with all that one internet debacle when the snip happened on the internet, and Jay was so involved in all of that, and then I realized, oh, so that's probably why we thought we had, but maybe that was more about his job. Whatever. All right, it looks like it goes with a T. Now, I did bypass Arrowhead Animal Rescue. The dog pound shelter is a super big issue, and we need to, I feel, keep that moving along and give it some guidance. Whether or not it's important to go to their monthly meetings, I'm not totally certain, or if we just need to have a subgroup that, with the county and us and them, that meet or rare updates, I'm not sure. But that's our last piece we don't have representation then yet. So how would you guys like to deal with that?
So we have had somebody who's.
Anton's been doing it, and I think he's seen some value in it.
Yeah.
It's not a regularly occurring necessarily a thing, but it is a service provider that we have a relationship with and intend to continue having one with.
I could probably be doing that. That seems like a good thing to do.
Yeah. And
Thanks,
then they
Steve.
would bring, ultimately, a lot of times they would bring anything they're working on before us
Mhm.
anyway, so we would, we'd have to find out what's going on.
So just a quick glance, because I realize for some people this is super new and we just give these schedules. Does this seem fairly even? Do you feel like it's too much if you look where your name is attached, or this will be manageable? The other thing that I'm going to have asked Patrick to do, obviously our emails have a calendar attached to it. Send out a meeting invite for our calendars so our city councilor meetings are all on there. We could also make sure that the different entities do the same and, have that meeting invite go out for their respective meetings. Get on your calendars, make sure there's no conflicts or that we're aware of that. And then if this doesn't work and you need someone to fill in for you. And then finally, we've always had those councilor reports at the end of the meetings, and people go around and talk about whatever meetings they've been at, and sometimes those go really well, sometimes they don't. So what I'm suggesting is that Patrick get copied on all these groups' lists of a participant, though he won't be one, and then the meeting minutes would come to him and they could be thrown into our packets. We could read the meeting minutes, or you could use them as a reference point to, if you want to verbally highlight something out of that meeting that you want to make sure we knew about or whatever, but you'd have something to go off of. With the theory in mind, they'd send them out in a fairly timely manner. And if they don't, and you need to bring it up, still use the regular council reports, but it might add some background. Or if you didn't think there was anything, at least we'd have those notes. Not that you can't go look elsewhere, but
We
that
used
was-
to do that prior to there being verbal council reports. Most of the time I've been here, there haven't been verbal council reports. There was a list of minutes in the packets
Okay.
instead. It won't be timely, though. Monthly groups, you'll not see their minutes until they're approved the following month. So it won't be useful to do the prompting that would be great for it to be able to do.
well, some people are, some subgroups, they send out meeting minutes, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the park board, the PUC, the library board, all those boards that we have,
Approved.
it'll be a month.
Okay, so that was that. Now I've lost my place because I was looking for something else. Well, I was gonna look for another attachment on something else, but that's okay. Did that, oh, yes, the Parkside additional. All right, let me pull up my agenda again. So now we'll move on then. Is that okay? Everyone's all set before we move on to other wonderful things? Okay, there you go. So the next is the public money with the DNR. Any thoughts? Did everyone have a chance to take a look at that? And any thoughts or questions on that one?
I'll mention that Chris shared a concern with me reading through the document that the contract doesn't clearly say that we don't have to spend more than $60,000 on this. It doesn't clearly say that. That is clearly the intent, and that's the conversations that we've had with the staff people at the DNR that are working to get this funding in place. So we know exactly what we're going to do with it. We're just spending the money that they have available. We're not going to be spending more than $60,000. Having the state change language in a contract is usually a futile exercise, and in this case, isn't going to happen. So just know that that concern was raised, and if it's a concern to you, then we'll have to find a different way.
Who will be, excuse me, who's doing the work?
Well, it's a shared responsibility,
Okay.
but I think we'll be doing the,
Stuff that we can do.
yeah, if, you know, we can build
Yeah.
partition walls
Okay.
for the porta potties, and then the DNR will source docks for us. So we might have to process an invoice on them, but they're really going to help us get the things that we need. And that's always been the plan for them to do that, and this is just the way that they intend to do it.
Okay.
So if I'm hearing correctly, you don't believe $60,000 will complete?
No, I do.
You do?
I do. So Chris is not, he doesn't know the project, right? He's just reading the contract and telling us what the words in here say.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, but I can't show you a document that
That shows
guarantees
that-
it.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
I actually think that we'll get it done for less than the 60, and then the idea that paving was included as one of the scope of work items is a placeholder to spend the rest of it if we have any extra.
Okay.
But the state would not, if something were to go amiss that direction, the state would not require us to do that, or would they? I mean, would they then say,
I think they'd have a hard time requiring us to, but I just wanted to make sure you know that Chris brought that concern up. And, you know, I'm not an attorney, so you maybe want to ask him that question. I don't believe they have any intention to do that.
Chris is like, I saw that. It's like,
I do think that you control to some degree who you're gonna contract with and what the scope of the contract would be, albeit the DNR has to agree to that, those subcontracts or those contracts that you make. So I mean, I guess it would be in terms of scoping the project and getting whatever the quotes for this, you know, you would obviously need to try to control those costs.
And so it's our park staff that'll be managing the decision-making, and they've been working in partnership with DNR staff in Two Harbors and St. Paul throughout this project, and really for 10 years now. So this is a little frosting on the cake, I think.
so do we view that, since they are working in tandem, that if it's becoming apparent this is not going to work within that budget, everyone knows that and a pause goes into effect and they rethink things? Is that how?
That feels like a very reasonable exit ramp to me. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that's the way I would imagine. If we run into an issue with costs, then we just stop, we talk about it.
Okay. Is that enough to make everyone feel comfortable or no? Okay.
I feel
This
comfortable.
includes a dock?
Yeah.
I thought the dock, well, I know we moved forward with a longer dock than what was originally going to be placed down there.
Right.
And so that never did get put in there yet,
Right.
but I thought it was getting built already, so, and there was some things missing from that project, which are the screening things for the kayakers and that kind of stuff in the potty, in the toilets, whatever.
So none of this is new ideas or extra. This is things that we fully intended to do.
To finish it.
The
yeah.
DNR are dealing with their own funding issues. This is how they want to pay for it. And they're just involving us more directly in these purchases than we were involved in the actual construction of the project. But it's the same project that we've been
Yep.
talking about.
Okay, I feel comfortable with it, and I think if there's any hardships or problems moving forward with it, I think we'll realize, I don't think they'll probably be minimal, if there are any.
And that, we're not going to spend more than $60,000 on these things.
Right.
We're not authorized by you to do that. So if for some reason that's going to happen, you're going to be involved in that decision-making process.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any more questions or comments? All right, we're making a motion on this, or
Yep,
we're
I'll
just
make a
voting
motion. I'll make a motion to accept the Parkside Public Access funding agreement with the state of Minnesota.
Second? Any other discussion? All right, vote.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And moving right along, Mike and I have been meeting this past month, and one of the things that was of interest to me, remembering when I first started and feeling like, whew, this big wave's coming at me, want to make sure we had a good onboarding, so we have a list. I hope you had a chance to look at it. Is there anything on there you think we're missing? We've got a goal of March 30th to make sure all the items are through to help Aaron and Ben. And is there anything someone would like to participate in, maybe a tour again of a site or whatever in any way, as part of those pieces?
Open invitation if you decide later.
Yeah, just let them know. Is everything else coming along okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, great, okay. There's that, and then another piece of try here, and so we're just getting it rolling. We put a little very many issues list. I want to be a better communicator with all of our customers or clients, or however you want to call the citizens and anyone interacting with us, kind of know things that we're thinking of working on, whether they be a true project or an issue we need to talk through, or just an item that came up. It's not going to be full, but the bigger items, and have it there. I think it helps us. Oftentimes I felt I came to a meeting and I didn't think about anything till the agenda comes in front of me, and then all of a sudden there were these things, and what happened to them? Where'd they go? They left my brain. So I think this is a good reminder to all of us as well, that these are things we haven't dealt with, that need to be dealt with. And then I'd like to have a better spreadsheet behind there of working pieces we can all be looking at and keeping track of the larger pieces and knowing what's going on. But this is a first step. There's lots of ways we can do things like this. We can do the classic stop sign, stop light, green, yellow if there's an issue, red if it's like on hold, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
If there's any comments or thoughts, please let Mike and I know, or Patrick, our communications director. And we'll kind of keep working on this. Anyone have any initial thoughts about it?
Should we put those things we were just talking about? Maybe put it with the snow and the post office and that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I thought, it doesn't have to be every last little detail, but within there are those, there are issues around parking or snow removal, kind of at streets, and we could kind of do that. But yeah, and then maybe at a more detailed, we'd have those in there. You could go look at a spreadsheet and see the more detailed level, but just know that, yeah, we're still thinking about this. We didn't just forget that there were issues with Highway 61 and parking or snow removal. We're still dealing with it. So yeah, something like that. Would that be enough to? Okay.
Well, and we think there's probably another category here that is necessary to give you an idea of what it is that you're doing with it. Is this some action that's going to be asked of you in the next meeting, or is this a discussion that has to be continued? Or, I mean, what is it? And I don't know how to describe that yet, but that's something we're trying to build in.
Yeah.
The real issue from our perspective is, how do we determine what gets on this list? I know that seems kind of silly, but there's thousands of things that started and are in process. If you look at all of our departments and all the activities that are going on, and most of them don't require council attention. And council attention is a valuable commodity. So to prioritize it on the things that do at the level that they do, but still be sensitive to the things that you want to be tracking and the issues that you're being asked about. And so just negotiating that and figuring out how do things get on here. So the most important thing I'd say is that this list will be your list, and that it is your process to have things be put on here. And I think if you decide your process is any of you can contact us and something gets put on there, that's fine. If you decide your process is you talk about it at a meeting and decide that it goes on the list, that's fine. Or that it comes off the list, which is a whole nother part of this that, you know,
Yep.
we're trying to get to. I think that's the whole point of having a list
Mm-hmm.
in the first place.
Yep. Yeah, and this is a first attempt. Get it out there. We'll figure it out. But to me, it's just basic project management, and you track what you're working on, and yeah, it's not everything. And there's lots of things the city is busy doing. It's their things to do. We're not here to run their operation at that level, but there are things we are as city council involved in, and they are things we have to talk about and work through. And then I do believe they should be here, so we don't forget them either. And people know that we haven't forgotten them. If you're watching this meeting, you're like, you talked about this and what happened to it? Like, we didn't solve the problem, so are you guys still thinking about it? And they need to know that we are and working on it, I think, is part of it. As well as, like, it's done, but it shouldn't sit on the list forever, but people might miss that week, but that isn't really the point of it. As long as we know it's done, whatever, we can answer to it. But yeah, so this is a work in progress, but it's a new try. So if you guys have any thoughts or whatever, fair to say to send them at least to Patrick for now.
Yeah, please do.
And then want to do that. So I believe we are on to council and staff reports. I'll just look at Craig.
Oh, yeah, we have, well, the minutes will be next month, but I'll give it to you now. No, we did have a PUC meeting that was very educational. Scott Schaefer from AE2S did a presentation. I believe this is a continuation of some work they did in, 2017 or 18?
Well, that's when we started talking to him about it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he put together a presentation on the wastewater treatment facility plant, and basically analyzed certain areas of the plant that we should be considering looking at for improvement as time goes on here. And I think what pushed this along a little quicker this year especially, or maybe even last year, was, odor removal, something that popped up the last couple of summers. And so we did move ahead with basically a part of one of the 3 or 4 phases of this potential project could be to install an odor control system. And so we started that process. We haven't, it's kind of new because this just happened on January 4th when we had our meeting. And so we did vote to move ahead with getting this implemented, hopefully this 2023.
Possible.
That's the goal. But it is somewhat an expense that I don't think we were budgeted for, but it's pretty much it's not a cheap thing, but ramifications of fixing everything that's going on over there in the future is a very expensive thing that we will all be talking about eventually at the City Hall level for sure. Anyway, we are moving ahead with that. We hope that it will help with the odor. There's other things that are part of that, and if you want to watch his presentation on the PUC, it's kind of pretty educational on how the whole system works and things that we're being faced with and moving ahead.
His memo is also included in the Utilities Commission meeting packet at their last meeting. You're gonna read it.
Yeah.
And that's on the city's website, right? So if someone
Yes,
wants
anyone
to
could
watch,
look.
can go watch it,
Right.
just so everyone's aware of that.
The other thing that we talked about was downtown lift station pump and replacement. We had a pump that went bad, very expensive pump. It's very old, 25 plus years, and it basically you could spend just about as much money replacing the pump or rebuilding the pump as buying a new pump. So a new pump was ordered. That's already been in the works. It hasn't. What's the status of that? It's not
10 to 12 weeks.
right. So when we get
Every
that,
time
that'll
we
be
ask.
installed, and it's an expensive piece of equipment. But like I said, it's something that we've been using. The original one now is 25 plus years old. So that's just a maintenance thing that we need to do. The other thing we went through was load management policy updates. Basically, we have policies that are written now that describe what off-peak electric is, how it works, what the rate is, dual fuel rates, and how they're described and what a homeowner needs to do to qualify for that. And what was the other one? Off-peak dual fuel?
EV charging.
EV charging for EV home charging and how that works and the established rate. And the rates that are established that are published right now do reflect the 2023 rates for electricity. So that was some verbiage basically that was lacking within our department that we came out with that actually guides a homeowner to what they have to do to qualify if they want these types of things installed in their residence. What else was on there? Renewable energy certificates. That's kind of a, Mike, you can explain that one.
Nope.
Well, you can purchase renewable energy credits if you want to designate, like if you are heating your house with strictly solar or wind. It's basically you're buying credits from SIMPA, basically. Is that how it works? SIMPA?
And they're buying them or they're earning them themselves.
Right.
I mean, there's a market for who gets to take credit for the energy that's created with renewables.
Right.
Basically,
So
that's
then you
what
can
it is.
take credit for heating or supplying electricity to whatever you're doing through that avenue instead of being just basically on the grid. So
Most of those credits are designed for either industries or utilities that have requirements to produce certain amounts of renewable. And we're one of the few places where we're the only SIMPA city that its customers are buying them directly. So it's kind of an offset. We used to sell wind credits. And so there's a well-known food establishment in town that's been advertising for a long time that they are fully wind powered. And you can do that if you buy renewable energy credits. And you really can't legally say that if you don't have the credits. But most of the business we're doing is with residential folks who just want to be a part of it.
thank you, Mike. Well, that's pretty much what our meeting was about.
That'll be a lot of interest, I'm sure, the water part.
How was the
Yeah.
plant overall? Like, what did they talk
Well, I think
about?
the plant overall, I think I mean, I remember, gosh, my dad was working ironworks when they did the work on that, when they put in the lights and all the ironwork. I don't know, was that 85? What year was that?
It was the late 80s, the last major rework of the
Yeah.
plant. Yeah, 80, 80.
He was
that
a
area.
rod buster working on that plant, so. But I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to improve on, well, odor was the issue that hit everybody, obviously. And then how do we do that? How do we fix that? What's the best way to do that? Well, some of the best ways to do that is aerate the system more, replace some items, add some items, and those are $1 million items. The odor thing we're looking at is, what, $350,000 item that'll be placed on the north side of the system. The plant overall, I think, is functioning fine. It's just that, we get these loads, I think, that cause some problems in the summertime more than anything. And it was designed, the plant was designed to handle a city of, what did Tom, I remember it was like,
I mean, it's quite a bit larger.
yeah,
than,
we're not
is
exceeding
necessary.
we're not exceeding the capabilities of the plant. That's not the issue. The issue is it's getting old, and there's new technologies, better technologies that are, to take care of the product that's coming into it. I don't know.
So is there money out there to go look, kind of gets back to our earlier meeting, we're not experts in going out and looking for money, but do we need to make that effort? You remember hearing about other small towns getting full federal funding to upgrade their water systems.
Install new systems.
I read Star Tribune, I read a list of what different cities around the state were asking for money out of the state, Bonnie. It's like, wow, really? I think we've got some items here we should be asking for money on as well. So is this the deal where we should be finding out some...
and will be,
I
for
think,
sure.
yeah.
Will be. Yes.
Looking at the other components of this proposed upgrades, we definitely will be.
Scott's report really was generated because of conversations about odor control.
You got to have this part of it done before you can move ahead to do the other things that, if you want the funding and go for that kind of stuff, it's good to have a plan in place, and that's kind of what we have here now.
This is the basic, this plan was designed to deal with odor control more than anything else.
Right.
A lot of the things that deal with odor control creep into just your general capital improvement plan for the plant. But it's not the whole package of what, if we're gonna go ask for money, what are all the things we're gonna try to get done to fix it?
Yeah, that was my question, is the odor, whatever this scrubber is or whatever, like, that's not just the lipstick, right? Like, we're still want to go after the source of the odor, right? Like, we want to treat that better, or we want
Yeah.
to clean that up better. Like, did you guys talk at all about the difference between, like, waste that comes from the city versus, like, septic waste? And, like, does it process the same way? Does it not? Does it?
How does that affect odor? How does it affect
Right,
odor?
yeah,
Or
like
how does
the-
it affect
like-
the load on the system?
That's what I'd
It
be curious.
increases the need for more aeration,
Right.
those types of things. I mean, that's kind of, we talked about all that. He has that report.
Tom talked about it too,
Tom talked about it, but this report, I mean, there's a
but that'd
copy
be
of this.
nice.
Yeah,
You guys can get a copy?
it's on our website. It's
Well,
in the
like-
packet of the last PUC meeting in January. You're welcome to look
Just
at
go
it.
watch it, yeah.
It might, yeah, watch the meeting.
Well,
But
get
just
this report and read it too,
simple
because
answer.
he has a lot of stuff like improvements, biosolids, odor control. There's a whole, it talks about that process and what it does. And the guy's very knowledgeable. I mean, you could call him too and talk to him, I think. But we do understand at the PUC level that, we are taking on other product here other than the city of Grand Marais.
Countywide.
Yeah.
We're taking in county sewage. It's being allowed to dump into our facility, much like WLSSD allows county
And us.
and us dump into their facility. So I'm sure all that extra product flowing into their facility definitely changes the day-to-day operation then, other than just taking in the sewer from the city of Duluth. So, I mean, they're faced with the same issues, you know, other than they have a huge facility and they handle way more gallons than we do, but.
But it's something we need to manage a lot closer than the typical waste stream and do. Like their R1 industrial user permit, where they have different terms and conditions and prices than any other customer we have in town.
Okay.
So we definitely recognize that it's different and understand the difference, and it's an ongoing conversation. Like it's always something that we're trying to pay attention to. And right now, we're trying to really refresh the policy documents around the accepting of outside wastes, to have a conversation at that level that we'll be bringing to the Utilities Commission for them to look at. Now we've got some new players involved, and we just want to make sure that everybody's got a clear understanding of how it's working and that why it's working. And one of the reasons why we do it at all is really goes back to what Tracy talked about in her introduction, that we're the only place with a real wastewater treatment plant in Cook County, and we have the ability to help. And so why not? Why not take that leadership position and provide what assistance we can to the greater community, as long as we can. So.
And with that, what you just said might help us obtain monies for our system, because it's not just the system that's handling the city of Grand Marais. This is a county.
Yeah.
This is a county.
Compelling story.
It's a county system now, so I mean, it's something that might help us in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the county has anything they can do to help with monies. I don't know. It's something we do. We work with the state. I have no idea, but
I can tell you
it might be
when-
an avenue to look at.
When I meet with partner agencies, including local partner agencies, and they ever ask us what our funding priorities are, I always talk about the wastewater treatment plant.
Well, it's nice. It's something as simple as just reframing the verbiage, like you said. It's not just the city; it is the whole county. But until you start saying that out loud a few times,
Right.
you know, then it really helps you rethink what's really going on or what's at stake. So that's good to think about it differently. And I do think you're right. I think that would make a huge difference in our financing options, looking out when you realize it's bigger than just one little small town of 1,500 people that we're trying to address.
Yeah.
When we're also one of the places that the whole rest of the state loves to come and visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big
The city of
interest.
Duluth has a rose garden. I'm thinking we need to have a bigger rose garden. Fix
Well-
our sewer problem.
We do sell some of it back with their lovely compost, right?
Yeah.
We don't.
We don't, but
No.
people
Yeah.
in town do. Sorry.
Right.
Within, in town it's sold back.
Duluth does.
Yes, Duluth gets.
So that's all I have on
Okay.
our January 4th meeting. You're welcome to look at it and watch it and pick up a copy of that report by Scott. That will give you some insight into the future of things we have to look at and think about.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to wrestle Craig for that Utilities Commission spot now, I'll let you know.
Aaron, did you have anything? Not yet.
Good.
Next time.
Next
Good
time,
answer.
hopefully.
Good answer.
Ben? Next time. Michael? Really?
Yeah, library was canceled and we didn't have the items out. The RDC was.
Park board was canceled too, but we did cover
Okay.
the one item on that agenda was that DNR thing.
Okay. Well, I have just 2 items. I went to the Active Living Steering Committee and Safe Routes to School group. One of their, the topic of the most discussion was some parking issues for Great Expectations School. And I think that's my understanding after more conversation, including one with, I met the new director of the school, is that's been an issue for a long time and probably more of a school issue that they'll need to figure out. But it's a safety, apparently safety issue, and parents dropping and picking up their kids from school versus busing or walking to school, and it gets to be too much with not enough space to really adequately handle that very well. So that was the larger conversation issue. And then second of all, I have and will continue to set up some meet and greets. So I met with Kimber Wellstead of North Shore Health. I've met with James Yorkie. Today I met with Jason Hale, and I met with Chris Lindholm, superintendent at the schools, as well as Rachel Lehman, the new director. I think this is her second year at GES. And I'll continue to do more just to establish and make sure we're all met. Some of those people I did know, some did not know me.
Yeah.
And so I have a few more on my list, and that's that. So there we go.
Great. Awesome.
Anything else?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, everybody. And I'm just going to say it's 8:20 and we're 10 minutes ahead. Who would have thunk?
Bam!
Oh, that happened.
Nice job, Mayor.
Well said.
Well done.
Keep that up.
That's right.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Chris. Good night.
Thank you, Chris.
Kim.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too.